Hello and welcome back to another episode of Combat X with Alan Dawson, brought to you by Swerve Combat. You can catch us on the Roku channel, on Fubo, Vizio, Zumo, Sling and Prime Video. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a like. Turn those notifications on, hit the subscribe because it helps us grow this channel and keeps us bringing in guests like my next one. He's a big one. He's a former two-weight world champion, a modern-day East Coast combat icon, and a man who has staked a claim as a probable future Hall of Famer. This is, of course, Danny Swift Garcia. Garcia returns to the ring on October the 18th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. This is a familiar venue for him where he's already beaten the likes of Eric Morales, Zab Judah. The fight will mark his 10th appearance at Barclays, his 42nd fight overall, and quite possibly the last time we'll ever see him lace up the gloves. Why? Because Garcia doesn't want to walk away on the back of a loss. His last bout ended in a 9th round stoppage defeat to Erislandy Lara. Now he's back, taking on Daniel El Gallo Gonzalez to close his career on his own terms. This is a Swift Promotions event promoted by Garcia himself. It's a landmark moment because it shows us the next chapter. He's moving on from being a fighter to a promoter now, building his own roster and competing with industry power players like Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum and Dana White. But unlike many of those guys, Garcia has lived the fighter's grind. He knows what it means to headline on HBO, to negotiate contracts, to carry a city on his shoulders. In that sense, he's more in line with Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins, fighters who successfully made the transition from boxing to running a boxing promotion in Golden Boy. Garcia's not just chasing redemption in Brooklyn, he's laying the groundwork to go toe-to-toe with the sport's biggest promoters. From the ring to the boardroom, this is Danny Garcia like you've never heard him before. This is Combat X Swift Garcia. All right, so Danny, great to see you. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Now, I'm really looking forward to your, return to the ring. This fight is being billed as a farewell. Is this goodbye or goodbye for now?
Yes, sir. That's my mindset going into the ring, ending this spectacular career with a W.
I'd love to see it. You've had so many iconic nights at Barclays. This arena, I think, feel like for you is a home away from home. What's the loudest moment you can remember from a Barclays crowd?
Man, that's a good question. I think the Zab Judah fight, that was probably the most, that crowd was crazy. Because, yeah, I remember that was crazy. And then moments in the Thurman fight too, but I would say the Zab Judah night versus Garcia versus Judah was the most electrifying, as far as rowdiness in the crowd.
Yeah, I love to hear that because I feel like that was when your career was so strong. You had Morales as well at that time. You beat my Englishman as well, Amir Khan. You had such a string of awesome wins during that run.
For sure.
You know the 147 and 154 divisions, so well, like the back of your hand, champions in those weight classes. We've got Canelo Crawford next week. I'm just wondering, do you think, I know you've probably been asked this before by other reporters, but knowing how big 154 guys are and what the difference must be to super middleweight like Canelo, who's been there for 5 years, do you think Crawford's going to be too small for him, or do you think he's got enough skill to close that physical gap and out-technique him on the night?
The skills do pay the bills. A lot of greats did go up to middleweight and win. Freaking Ray Leonard, Duran, even Cotto. It's something that a lot of the greats try to do. So he can do it, but it's a tough mountain to climb. The punching power, the density behind the punches of higher weight classes, you really feel it. Especially if you've never been hit with that type of impact before. It's not like sparring with 16-ounce gloves. I just think that's gonna be the factor in the fight, is the size difference.
You were always known for your timing and ability to pull off that counter punch. Whose timing do you think would dictate the fight more? Do you think Crawford, because he's less battle worn, even though I think he's older than Canelo, or do you feel Canelo's still got the timing to be able to, punish, put those super middleweight punches on Crawford?
That's a good question, because I was actually thinking about that the other day. hey, you never know. If Canelo lost one step, Crawford is the fresher guy. So if you lost one step, you know, that can happen overnight for sure in boxing. So there's a lot of things, a lot of factors to play in part with this fight.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then you know he definitely has a shot.
Just going back to you, because obviously this interview's about you, I'd love to, like, you know, I'm really interested in your plans for Swift Promotions and you know, kind of, I know you're probably thinking about post-fight career as well. You know, I can't help but think you're probably the highest profile fighter turned promoter since Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins. You know, what lessons from how they built Golden Boy or worked with Golden Boy as a partner do you want to emulate or avoid? You know, you know all about the game as a headline box office fighter. You know, is there anything you feel like you can apply to promotion that guys like, I guess, Eddie Hearn, Al Heyman, Bob Arum weren't able to do because they never were in the ring, like how you've been and how Oscar and Bernard were?
Right, definitely. I mean, Oscar's always been one of my inspirations when it comes to promoting fights. Even as a fighter, great fighter. He was my promoter at one time.
Yeah.
So, you know, they did a great job with me. They built me up. So, yeah, definitely. I would love to one day, you know, be like the Golden Boys or the top ranks and PBCs and Matchroom. So, you know I got my work cut out for me, but I think this is a good start.
You also came up under Al Heyman. He's one of the boxing's most influential figures for, you know, decades. Has that shaped how you've dealt with fighters under Swift at all? What do you think fighters need most from a promoter in today's boxing? Because Al has, you know, he's kind of behind the scenes and pushes the fighter into the limelight more, whereas other promoters are kind of right next to the fighter.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there will never be another Al Heyman, I'll tell you that much. That guy's like a person who just came from heaven and just fell in your lap and just changed your life. Really. You know, I mean, I look at Al Heyman like there's only two people I owe the world to in this planet. And one is Al Heyman and one is Angel Garcia.
Yeah.
But Al Heyman is just like, you can't replicate him. You got to kind of go your own way. I mean, I'm a couple of things that, you know, I learned from him and how the way he moves, I'll try to put that in my game, but there will never be another Al Heyman.
Will there be a role for Angel in your promotion? Because he's been such a prominent figure in your corner. Obviously your life as well as your dad. You know, is he gonna be in Swift Promotions too?
Oh yeah, for sure. Pops is already involved. You know, he's always there. He owns shares of the company, so no matter how it goes, he'll be all right.
As you're coming into boxing as a promoter, I think a real kind of like strange time because, you know, PBC have gone from having, you know, dozens of shows a year to maybe 6 on Prime Video. Top Rank have been without a broadcast partner now for almost 6 weeks, 8 weeks. You know, the broadcast deals don't seem to be there anymore, but, you know, TKO are coming into the sport. You know, Dana White is going to be a quite visible presence in the years ahead. What do you make about the changing landscape? You know, when, you know, you've been on HBO, obviously Showtime has left the sport as well as HBO. You know, what do you think about this kind of like changing of the guard?
Definitely different. You know, there's less shows and the streaming era is really different. You know, it's tough. So I think it's really all about timing and just being in the right place at the right time. And you never know these new streaming companies, what they're looking for. They might need diversity. They might need sports. So you just got to build your company up and then see where you land one day. You know, one of my dream of mine is for HBO and Showtime to come back. I think those were the best days in boxing, to be honest with you. It's like where fighters really had a home and it was just like 40 years each, I think, right? So it was like, oh, there's a home for boxing. I just hope that one day boxing lands a new home.
I agree with that. You've had so many big nights as a fighter yourself. World Championship wins, fighting in front of big crowds. You know, I think some fighters might struggle, you know, not having that limelight anymore, but you're, you know, already heading into this, you know, new career as a front man in a promotional company. What do you think the feeling would be like building up a young Philadelphian to be a world champion in one weight class or then 2 weight classes like Danny Garcia?
Oh man, that's a dream of mine.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a businessman now, so so it's not gonna be hard for me to transition into being from an athlete to a businessman. So, you know, I love investing. I love buying investments. I like taking risks. So a dream of mine now is to make a champion and make somebody else's dream come true. No better feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine. What do you think you would really look for in young fighters? You know, is it you know, strong roots in Philadelphia, Brooklyn? Is it someone swaggy like you've been?
Yeah, you definitely need an entertainer. You know,
Yeah.
entertainer, and then if he can fight, obviously he has to be able to fight. He has to have that it factor. And I think the number one important thing is come from a good family. You know, I think that's the solid foundation. You got a great solid foundation where you can just focus on boxing. I think it's a lot of combinations where you look for a great fighter, you know, and just whatever drives him. You got to add that it factor, you know, whatever trauma you've been through in your life or anything, you have to use that for motivation for you to be a world champion. All the greats have that chip on their shoulder, whatever they've been through. They turn their traumas into legendary stuff. So it's a lot of factors, but they're out there for sure.
Do you think these days, like, I mean, we've talked about HBO, you know, that was king for so long. Do you think like TikTok and social media is the modern day king? Do you think fighters need to have a bit more of a build up their own presence on their social media channels and their YouTube? Like, I guess Jake Paul has, you know, he had 20 million subscribers coming into the game, and he's been able to leverage that into, you know, Netflix headliners.
Yeah, I think a lot of these fighters really don't understand. It's more about, it's not just being a fighter anymore. I mean, it's always been like that. The best fighters knew about marketing. So you got to learn how to build your fan base up. Yeah, you got to use the Instagram, you got to use the TikTok, and at the same time, promote yourself and work on your craft. I know a lot of fighters just sitting around waiting for somebody to promote them. And if you're waiting for somebody to promote you, it's probably never going to happen, to be honest with you. You are your biggest promoter, yourself. You know, as long as you got the phone, that's why I'm saying your personality really means a lot. And if you use your person, some people are quiet and, you know, but when you're really quiet, you got to go in there and knock somebody out.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, it's like, you can't have, it's just the way it works. But yeah, it's everything now. Like me, I never thought, like, I'll hit the bag, I'll get a couple likes and I'll go in there and just dance like Scarface. Now I got 100,000 likes, you know what I'm saying? So you got to know how to, you know, be entertainers, have fun with it.
Danny, I really appreciate your time today. You know, you've given us so many big nights as a boxer, and I'm looking forward to your next one, October 18th. And I'm looking forward to, I'm so glad you're going to stay in the game and that we're gonna see you again and again as a front man too. Wish you all the best on Fight Night and beyond, champ. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.